What's up, everybody? I am back with a new movie spoiler review, and it is Spider-Man: Brand New Day. That was went to catch the movie a couple of days ago, and honestly, I'm shocked I managed to get a freaking seat. Cause it's, everybody and their mama went to come see this movie. Spider-Man and Batman, no matter what is going on with the universe, that is trying to be building, those will always still be successful because Batman and Spider-Man are like the, headliners of their respective universes. They almost always are successful. I think, like, out of all the Spider-Man films, the original Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably the lowest tier in terms of quality Spider-Man films. Batman and Robin, and to some extent, Dark Knight Rises, probably like the lowest tier in terms of, well, success. But you know what I mean. It's like most people don't really care for Rises, but Batman and Robin is definitely one of the worst Batman films out of all of them. Don't even want to count like Batman versus Superman because it's, well, I guess you can count it as like equally shared a Batman and a Superman film. So if you want to count it, that's also very low tier. But by and large, they almost always are successful. So yeah, this movie's gonna be doing gangbusters. This time by next weekend, it'll probably be in the billions. Everybody's coming in dressed up because there's quite a few people that I've seen coming in dressed up. Not counting the children. Wearing Spider-Man costumes partially or fully. It's a big deal. It's probably the out of all the movies, before Doomsday, I don't even want to even say it's going to be an event movie, but Spider-Man Brand New Day is one of those movies that's like actually in a long while feel like an event movie that is like a big deal for the general public. Everybody was super excited to come see this film. I got at least two more movies. Doomsday, obviously I'm going to see that, but the next film that I'll be going to see will be Street Fighter, which is looking very good. They just showed like a new teaser trailer with Jason Momoa as Blanca in full display. But we also get like crazy little cameos from Maximilian Dood and Justin Wong, iconic video game fighting streamers. I follow like Maximilian Dood a lot, so yeah, it's kind of cool to see him because he went to go on set to meet people. Did not know that they. I'm pretty sure it was like probably spur in the moment. Got him to put him as an extra in the film, so that's like a cool thing. Living like I'm pretty sure him and Justin is like high on life right now in terms of like actually being in a live action video game fighting video game movie, specifically Street Fighter. So yeah, it's definitely a big deal. So anyway, like the video, share the video, follow and subscribe to my YouTube and Twitch channel, Talking of Carl. And let's get right to it. So this is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who has done like a couple of Marvel films before. Yeah, like Shang-Chi. No, just Shang-Chi, I think. But he did a movie Just Mercy, So yeah, Shang-Chi and this movie is the two primary MCU movies that he's directed himself. Uh, so it stars Tom Holland as Spider-Man, Zendaya as Michelle Jones Watson. Of course, we got Sadie Sink, which is not really much of a surprise that she's playing Jean Grey in this. Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds, even though he freaking looks like Genki, but whatever. John Bernthal as the Punisher, and this is the second movie this year that Tom, Zendaya, and John are in a movie together. Just realized, recently that Tom Holland and John Bernthal were, longtime friends who go to auditions together, or at least help each other with certain auditions together. Florence Pugh, has a cameo as Elena here. And my gosh, she always looks good. And Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. Okay. We'll get right into rewatching the trailer. There's a couple of things that I'm surprised on, and others I'm not so much surprised about. One second here.
I can't believe our first hit MIT. MJ, come on, pretend like you're not the happiest you've ever been in your entire life.
I can't.
I knew it.
Great costume. Like, I am, pleased as punch. It's like, yeah, they kept on going with the after No Way Home, which is honestly my favorite movie of all time. My absolute favorite movie out of any movie I've ever seen. That is my absolute favorite one. They kept on from the tail end, combining Toby and Andrew's costumes together, to make Tom's brand new costume. Because a lot of people's complaints that he just Iron Man Jr. kind of thing, because most of his tech didn't really build on his own. He pretty much got it from Tony Stark for the most part. Now he's building tech himself because, Peter is a brilliant scientist within his own right. And a lot of people are agreeing, and I do as well, that he has finally come into his own, as a Spider-Man. It's not that same kid, in the previous films, especially in Homecoming, where he's pretty much like a newbie. And honestly, if Tony Stark were alive, he'd look upon this, he'd be proud, like a proud dad. It's like, man, you're acting like an adult, and not only just an adult, you're acting like a grown hero. You are a lot more mindful. You're not really as gullible, and you're a little bit more mindful of certain things. I guess it's like because through the previous films we see the progression, especially after the previous film, where it's like his experience with the other two Spider-Man, which honestly, as I mentioned in another video, I don't think I made a TikTok video about this, but it's just one of the best scenes is his interactions with Toby and Andrew Spider-Man, because he gets their wisdom. It is kind of like through their experience, he understands how to be like a better hero and not making certain mistakes that they have made. And no matter what, they try to do the right thing. What it means to be Spider-Man. And it's like those interactions, it's like you would never get that in most films. It's very rare that you get like a young Spider-Man learning from, elder Spider-Man about, great, what it means to have great power and great responsibility, and about sacrifice and learning about doing things for the greater good, despite any personal thing wants in your life, and that leads him to understand that he had to make the ultimate call with having everybody forget who Peter Parker was in order to save potentially the whole, not just the world, but potentially, I don't know, the multiverse, because everybody who ever known who Spider-Man was in the greater multiverse is going to become flowing into this one universe, and that is just chaos. Can't have that. In order to stop it, he had to make people forget him. And you see subtle little touches that they haven't forgotten. No, the MCU has not been great with interconnectivity, but the one thing they did maintain is like whenever there's pictures where you think they're supposed to be Peter Parker, it's all like clouded out or covered up or something like that. Like in the beginning of Deadpool and Wolverine, and Deadpool's in the office of Happy Hogan, you see like a picture with Tony Stark with, it's supposed to be Peter Parker, but you see how this like, obscured. It's like they, even in other films, they maintain that. So I appreciate those kind of things. So yeah, Spider-Man has probably been the most consistent with all these films, out of almost anything else.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. You don't remember me, but we used to know each other. Something bad was going to happen, and the only way to stop it was to make everyone forget about me. Because I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man.
And the web swinging, it's like, and this scene with the tank, Sony has like finally, it's like, oh my god, they just got progressively better with these Spider-Man films. Even with like Spider-Man Noir or the Miles Morales films, okay, we got the formula down, where it's like they combined like the PlayStation Spider-Man games in this, because you cannot tell that this inspired by those moments where you gotta stop the car chase scenes in the games. Totally inspired by that. The web swinging mechanics, it's like I can't help but think of the Amazing Spider-Man films, because like that movie did POV web swinging just right, and it's like they adopted that. It's just like they took the best of a lot of previous Spider-Man IPs and incorporated in some form or fashion in this. So it's like kudos.
The hell, Frank? You just hit me with a van!
Quit your whimpering. Suit yourself.
And of course, it's like, it kind of off-screen established like a interaction between Spider-Man and Punisher, where apparently they had this little team up, or at least Spider-Man saved Punisher's life in Staten Island. They keep referencing, which is like a running joke throughout this film. But the actors' chemistry is, very good in this.
Mother.
Go home!
And sometimes Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart.
In this moment, I don't know what I was expecting, because this dude shouldn't even be here if they wasn't going to utilize him in any kind of capacity. He has this one, I thought this would have been like Hydro Man or something like that, because MJ, well, there's Paul, but nobody likes Paul and nobody cares about Paul. They got rid of that character in comics very quickly because he was despised. Probably the most despised character that's not like a superpowered character in comic book history. But I thought it might have been like Maury Bench, because that would be cool to at least seed him in later Spider-Man films, because Maury Bench dated MJ a little bit before he went crazy. And he went off to the Navy and got his hydro powers through some chemicals and mixed with the water. I thought that'd be a cool, like, you know, seeding of a future Spider-Man villain. But no, this dude is just a random boyfriend that is never seen again. It was like a waste. It's like, he didn't need to include this if he wasn't going to do anything with it.
What is happening to me?
Tom Holland's workout routine.
Excuse me, Dr. Banner. I need your help.
What did you say your name was? If DNA is mutating, it would be enormously dangerous.
Spiders have 3 life cycles. When between cycles, it can leave the spider vulnerable to threats.
We are faced with a danger that we can't control. One we can't even see. Stay out of my way.
You're losing it, kid.
And for those spiders who make it through, it amounts to a kind of rebirth.
Nice flowers.
Oh, they're a housewarming gift.
I'm MJ.
I'm just a neighbor from across the hall.
Friendly neighbor.
Yeah, this movie was really, really good. I have a couple of, I won't say minor, they're semi-minor complaints. One being the fact that he has his own apartment and he has, like, I guess there's like an abandoned little attic thing that I guess the landlord allowed him to utilize. It's never established what he does to make money and how he's paying for his freaking rent. I would think he would have at least do some freelance photography, set that up, so you can see that he's making freaking money. It's just like they kind of abandoned that. Well, I don't say abandoned. They didn't even establish it. What does he do? What does he do for money? Also, you would think they was, because I kind of got it all wrong with my first trailer reaction, that I thought it might have, like, we see the hand, you thought, Daredevil's gonna be in it. He's not. That prison is the Department of Damage Control's little prison. The hand is only a handful that's working under the head of the Department of Damage Control. So it's not the same prison that Daredevil was in. So he's not in this. We also, like, they touched on the whole man spider thing, but they didn't go full, like, was it kind of personally glad about they didn't go full tilt into the whole body horror thing, because I do not like spiders. It's fucking creepy. And I thought they might have edited out the extra arms that they've tried to maybe at least set that up to at least show a little bit of that. But I guess because children are watching this, probably shouldn't lean into a whole body horror thing. Now I'm all for traumatizing children, because I grew up watching like 80s and 90s type of films as, you know, touch on a little, like, you know, that borderline edges the horror vibes for children's content, like Edward Scissorhands or Nightmare Before Christmas kind of vibes, or Addams Family. But yeah, kids are watching probably the best. You didn't go full man spotter and this kind of thing. If this was like rated R, maybe there'd be a different story. But they would never make a rated R Spider-Man movie unless you're doing like Kraven's Last Hunt kind of storyline. But since they botched the Kraven movie, which they shouldn't be doing these solo villain movies at all, they're doing the exact same thing with Batman, where you're making these little side stories about the villains that has no hero, the main hero that they combat in it, until they need to tell in, they tease it. It's so stupid. Anyway, they, you know, at least touched on the whole mutation, the enhanced mutation, pretty much like his powers are leveling up, but it's going through a metamorphosis. In the meantime, he's like, you know, adjusting to it. It's like his senses are kind of amped up now. He's getting organic webbings, which I'm glad he's like referencing, like, oh, Peter 2 had this, but he never understood like how it exactly works, because him and Peter 3 had web shooters. So he had to adjust on the fly, but he also uses little personal AI system to help with trying to test it out, just to make sure he quickly adjusts to it, because he's dealing with a villain, quote unquote, more antagonist. Because yeah, you know, Sadie Sink is Jean Grey in this. It's not much of a secret. People pretty much guessed it right off the bat when she was casted, and she's a redhead, and everybody knew she wasn't going to be Mary Jane Watson. What's the other famous Marvel redhead in comics? Jean Grey. And I don't know, I'm not sure how much Marvel could have kept this a secret. And San Diego Comic-Con was just recent, so they didn't bring out any X-Men type of characters. So they wanted to make sure, at least try to keep a lid on it as much as possible in a greater whole. But the whole Sadie Sink thing, they just probably just let that ride. They can't. They could not keep that a secret. But I guess it's the whole mystery of it all, how she's going to be incorporated into this story arc. Yeah, that is. I guess they can keep that as a surprise. Matter of fact, as you see how her powers work, in at least in this interpretation, well, in all interpretations, but in this one in particular, you clearly, it's just like with, if you remember X-Men 2 with Nightcrawler in the White House scene, or in most Magneto scenes, like, you know, in First Class, for example, you can see why, not that I'm advocating or at least rooting, or, you know, I can just understand, like, those people who hate mutants, you can understand their perspective in this, because if you're on the receiving end of mutants that are not either controlling their powers well, or they have a grudge or something like that and misusing their powers, you can see the fear in it, because like, you see how Jean Grey is using her powers, which I'm shocked that she's not, you know, because clearly she only locked up briefly, but then she's allowed to just go about her business, which I want to say there's like a con, but it's something that like needs to be pointed out. It's like this chick has put a lot of people in danger, and she's allowed to just piss off to, you assume, Westchester. I was half expecting somebody, to kind of like I don't know, Professor Xavier, but you don't know who's Professor Xavier. You kind of like see like a wheelchair pop up to her bus stop or something. I don't know, but you never get that. But her powers, she put MJ in danger, and it's like she getting off pretty easy, and definitely they are not. They going definitely their own way with this version of Jean Grey, because in the comics, if you know your Jean Grey history or even the basic X-Men lore, she has both a mom and a dad. But I guess the dad's never mentioned. They never really put any respect on fathers all that much in this. But or at least in terms of Marvel films or even superhero films in general. But the dad's never mentioned. The mom abandoned them as soon as she found out that she had powers. That's not what I grew up with in terms of Jean Grey's parents, who was doting parents. And in the comics, she did have a sister, but really not mentioned all that much or seen, not from my recollection. Anytime we bring up Jean's past, never reference a sister, even though canon-wise he's supposed to have a sister, I think. So that is played fast and loose. But she had loving parents, so don't get it twisted. This is just like a unique thing that I guess the MCU, decided to take in a particular direction. Even in like X3, you see the parents who clearly love their daughter and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, okay, where's the dad in this? But whatever. Yeah, so I just briefly want to just cover all the stuff that I thought was kind of freaking odd in this. Anyway, so the beginning of this film, Peter is kind of like, all alone. I say alone, in quotes, because the only human connection he actually has is with Jean DeWolf, which they established as a black woman or maybe Hispanic or mixed, whatever quota box they had to fill. Not too bent out of shape with that, because even in like the Spider-Man games, which, well, the first one, not the second one, was pretty good, they had Jean DeWolf as a hot Asian chick. So in the comics, she was a white woman. So I guess it's one of those like C-list support characters that is, you can play fast and loose with in terms of how you want her to be depicted. But I don't know. The only thing is I want like a young, not saying like the actress is bad looking, but it was like personally I like a young hot Jean DeWolf that isn't like some soccer mom looking character, you know what I mean? Even in like the Spider-Man games, she rather something like that, where she's just about pushing 40 at her oldest, but still good looking, if you know what I mean. But in any case, that is the only connection. They established they had some kind of interaction, very Gordon Batman type of relationship. Pretty much established like a hotline, and they have a rapport, which is cool. They can just get past all the whole first interaction how can I trust him? Blah blah blah. It's like, no, they got a relationship. They established. Get that past that point. You can see at the beginning how you get those little comic covers, iconic Spider-Man comic covers of him, stopping bad guys and saving people. You see a little bit of Boomerang, Tarantula, and of course the Scorpion, who shows a lot more this time because I guess they have to make up for lost time because they long since established Mac Gargan in Homecoming and never did anything with him since then. And it's kind of like, making up to that actor in a way, which very kudos to him that he finally get like a fair shake. More than I can say from Mahershala Ali right now. My goodness. But he just like Spider-Man darn near 24/7, which brings back, what does he do for money if he spent most of his time as Spider-Man? So, and DeWolf points out, like, do you have a life outside of this? Because you seem like you always, like, on call. And it's like, you got some downtime, blah, blah, blah. It's like, because he's still, like, reeling for the fact that his, girlfriend and best friend don't know him. And he's too, pretty much, chicken shit to go confront them. I guess, I won't say chicken shit, but he wanted to keep them safe, but he's watching from a distance kind of thing. Even like following them on, Instagram. And it's been 4 years, so they spent their entire youth in MIT. So they really gotten past the whole kids in school thing, which more than I could say with the other Spider-Man films where they kind of rush past the childhood thing into their adulthood. This seems like a natural progression where these guys spent the first 3 films mostly in school, where like Homecoming, you assume they're in sophomore year, then Far From Home they probably would be junior, No Way Home senior year. Now in this brand new day, they're fully adults. It's been 4 years past since that since their time in high school, so they're established. Yeah, established adults. So they live in their life, doing God knows what for money. Who knows? They never bring it up. Apparently, MJ and Ned are living together. I was like, what do they do for freaking work? It makes no doggone sense. And MJ is such a rebel without a cause. It's like, I don't want to work for a soulless corporation. Like, my God, lady. It's like, oh God. It's like, you gotta get past this hippie mentality. It's like very few corporations that are soulless, okay? I'm glad Ned brought it up about, like, well, job security, retirement funds, things that you will need. It's like, at some point, you gotta just, like, find, like, a job. It's like, maybe Stark Industries. Because, in terms of the world of the Marvel Universe, there's very few companies that you can work for with your intelligence and science that you can put your skills to, that you can live with morally. So it's like you only got a couple of, they got, what was it, like Rand Industries with Iron Fist, and then you got Stark Industries. It's like, off the top of my head, those are like the top 2 that like you can go into that you can trust. Isn't like, at least the head honchos, Danny Rand is God knows where and Tony Stark is dead, but these guys who they were associated with, like Pepper Potts, you can trust the fact that, hey, they ain't gonna misuse the company in nefarious ways. So anyway, Sorry. So, what else? Yeah, his powers are starting to mutate mostly because it's kind of like the reverse of what Toby's mutation was. Well, not really a mutation, but his powers going through like a mental block thing because of self-doubt. Here, because Peter is so isolated, he spends so much time as Spider-Man, his biology is kind of reacting to it. It's like, okay, so let's kind of suppress the man part and just amp up the powers a bit. Because he refused to have like a balanced life. Because he's going through an existential crisis himself, where he doesn't have his aunt, he doesn't have Tony. Any superheroes that know him, like the Avengers and even Happy Hogan, don't remember him. His two main confidants, MJ and Ned, don't know him. Doctor Strange don't know him. So he is completely isolated. So, of course, that weighs heavy on his mental. So, now you got these strange mutations going on. So he's trying to figure out how to balance it out so he can keep being Spider-Man without it going overboard and messing him up as he's trying to do his job, because now he's dealing with this unforeseen force that is taking over people's minds and trying and keep consistently, for the past month, trying to attack the damage control building. And this unforeseen force seems to be possessing people, and he discovers later is only a specific radius. This person can do this and not in a long distance. Eventually, she breaks Matt Gargan out, possesses him, and starts attacking the damage control building again. Peter tries to stop him/her until he gets overwhelmed and the powers envelop him. He just, goes ham, which you could have saved this for, I don't know, the whole symbiote thing, because he kind of teased that in No Way Home, and you never see that come into play at any point. You thought that would be teased again at the end of the film, but no, just quickly get that part out of the way. The teaser is just Spider-Man's not on Earth anymore. He's off in space somewhere. Clearly Secret Wars, where somehow, because just like in the comics, that's where he got the black suit. Don't know how the piece of the symbiote left in No Way Home is on Earth, and how it gets to him while he's off in space. So so Spider-Man inadvertently caused major injuries to this police officer that was coming in on a squad car, where he just, like, without considering any collateral, he just starts slamming Matt Gargan into the squad car. The wolf kind of shakes him out of it, and he's just like, oh my god, like, I nearly killed 2 people in one night today. So he has to go try to get his head on straight, because this is like, he doesn't know, he can't control this at this point. So he ends up going to see Dr. Banner, because he, as we've seen, like, he has a device, that keeps the Hulk under control. And it leads to kind of a funny little moment in his, as he's trying to teach this class, and no one wants to learn what he's trying to teach. They just want to hear pretty much war stories from his as the time as an Avenger. And of course, they had to casually bring up, like, what everybody in the real world often asks: why didn't Thanos just make more resources? And of course, they didn't answer that question. This, I'm pretty sure there's an answer to that scientifically, but they didn't want to address that in this movie. They just thought would be funny to bring up that real world question that everybody always asks: why didn't you just make more resources? But it was a funny little moment because yeah, you have an Avenger, OG Avenger member, in your class. Of course, you constantly want to know about like his life as a superhero because like. Why wouldn't you want to know? So, under the name Ned, he asked Bruce the mechanics of his device and how to suppress like the bad parts but keep the good parts. And Bruce brings up, like, poses a good question: how do you know which parts is bad and which parts is good? And it's like there's no way for you to tell. And it can lead to something more dangerous. He considers it, but he still needs something quick because he's dealing with something that no way he can stop without his powers. So he ended up, creating a device that I imagine is going to be setting up in the future because he's going to not only set up two inhibitor devices. One for him to suppress his, and balance out his powers, and the other he utilizes for Jean Grey to suppress her powers. Because he eventually finds out who is Jean Grey through facial recognition. After she starts possessing people, somehow this never even brought up. Somehow she figured out who Spider-Man is, and starts going through his stuff while forcing him to go find MJ because she's going to find her and pretty much threaten to do harm to her. So he goes to MJ's place and takes her to a rooftop to try to keep her safe. And you get this little moment where you think MJ is semi-remembering who Peter Parker is, kisses him, and reveals that no, she somehow is possessed. That part also is never like, okay, at what point did Jean mind control MJ while this dude was swinging in the air? Maybe during a point when he's swinging through the city, because he realized about the distance, she's able to possess people. And just like in the video game with the whole helicopter getting webbed up, did the exact same move in this movie where Jean possesses one person and is trapped above ground away from everybody. Even though eventually somebody had to get this person out of this thing, he knew this part was going to be a possibility, but it's going to take a while. So he thought he had time. But maybe when you getting MJ out of her apartment and swinging through the city, some point maybe she saw him and then possessed her. Well, but still, he's in the air. She needs to close the distance in order to get to her. It's like, I don't know. It's never fully explained at what point MJ got possessed. But then it's really effed up and cruel, and this is probably, like I said, why people you can understand why regular humans are so scared of mutants. You can understand when they pull stuff like this, where they can easily mind control a loved one and forces them off a building, like Jean just did. It's like next time these two would meet up in future MCU movies, it's like you threw my ex-girlfriend off a fucking building that you looked at was, learned from Peter 3 on how to catch her without breaking her freaking neck, which is also a nice callback, because that's what everybody in the audience was like, oh my god, you better do this right, dude. Because how many times girlfriends, of Spider-Man get thrown off a fucking building? And one time that he did it improperly, broke the chick neck. But it's like ever since then, it's like, okay, I know how to do it right this time. So he pretty much kind of like catapult himself closer to her so he can grab her and then web himself to safety with her. So after getting a facial scan, he takes MJ to Frank Castle's hideout. That I guess somehow he realized where he's always been. He just never, because since Frank doesn't hurt innocents, he is technically not a villain. He just doesn't like the idea that he murders people, even if it's bad guys. But there's another kind of issue where in the comics, Spider-Man and Punisher have teamed up before, but it's always clashing, just like with Daredevil, it's clashing ideologies because Daredevil and Spider-Man do not take lives. And they appall working with Frank because this dude doesn't hesitate to take lives. Because he has this very rigid black and white outlook. If you're a bad guy, you hurt people, you're dead. So, you get none of that clashing. You get bickering, not really more clashing morals. But I guess audience got satisfied with that, with the whole Daredevil and Punisher interaction. So it's kind of like you don't want to rehash that part, I guess. So, he leaves NJ with Frank to look after her while he's trying to figure out the inhibitor mechanism. And because Michelle points out that since it overheats, it's probably because the device, since it's implemented on the base of the spine, kind of reminiscent to the Dr. Octopus's chip on the base of his neck with the tentacle arms. He kind of got a little bit of inspiration from that, I guess. She points out because his mask has a lot of circuitry within the eyes that kind of like overheats when it's the mechanisms are trying to disperse through the body. So they have to compensate for that. So he goes to damage control when the Hulk is bashing down a door where this lead he has about VMAX. That's what Jean Grey's been looking for. And the head of damage control doesn't know what VMAX is. And honestly, it's a stupid MacGuffin type of clue that honestly, I wouldn't say leads nowhere, but it's just kind of like, really? That's it? It kind of is semi-disappointing of a clue. So, Peter goes there to try to stop Jean. MJ convinces Punisher to help him. So you see the cool 2v1 with Spider-Man and Punisher going up against the Hulk, which full well, like, none of the Hulk Punisher's arsenal is going to do anything to the Hulk, but it's definitely offering a distraction, giving Peter a chance to keep the Hulk at bay. But eventually, Jean possesses Punisher, which you knew that was going to freaking happen, in order to break open that vault where all the damage control people are hiding. Peter manages to get to Bruce, and he calms down and reverts back to his former self. But managed to take down Jean, and she gives a word to Spider-Man Sarah, and of course the had damage control said like, oh, Sarah is just like a former colleague that is no longer with us. So, for all intents and purposes, the day is saved. But when he gets back to find MJ, she finds that note that he written down in the last film, and the secret is out that yeah, we knew each other. I had to wipe everybody's memory of my personal life in order to keep the universe safe. Then she's of course upset the fact that, oh, if we knew each other, why didn't you come find me? You promised you was going to find me, but you left, you didn't interact with me or your best friend for 4 years. So, but that's not the biggest gut punch. The biggest gut punch is the fact that she had to say, like, look, I know you love me, but I'm not that girl. I wish I was her, but whatever feelings she had for you, I don't feel that. And that was like a big gut punch. And you kind of knew this was going to probably be a thing, after the memory wipe. Because just like with the whole Peter Quill and Gamora situation, because Peters are not having luck in their love lives in this universe, where Peter is trying to force the relationship back on course with a Gamora that didn't build that relationship in the proper timeline with Peter. MJ, through the course of magic, doesn't remember Peter, can't build a relationship with him because she didn't have that build up with him. It's all starting fresh, brand new day. So, Peter takes her back home and she asks, do you want to meet Ned? So they all end up hanging out while he's in full costume, and this part, he mentions this is probably the best time he had in a long time. And it's like, yeah, he finally having like the relationship with these two that he been wanting to have for years. He always been watching from a distance, and he felt so isolated. This is like a warm moment right here, until MJ brings up the fact that when she was possessed, she had no clue. It's like a blink. One moment she's here, and the next minute she was falling and being rescued by him, which brings a revelation to Peter. It's like, oh my God, that head of damage control lied to me. So he gets Yelena to help him out and discover that, Sarah was the sister to Jean that damage control kidnapped years ago. So you discover that while Jean is in the cell where her sister was, VMAX is labeled on a ventilation area on the ceiling that is just, and that's where the part that was so lame. I was like, oh my God. It is, but apparently it's the last image that Sarah saw before she died, trying to get out an image to her sister to try to tell her where she was at. So her powers gets heightened where she now doesn't have to jump from one person to one person. Now it's covered like a wide area. And pretty much part of New York is frozen in a mental stasis. So Peter goes in, tries to break her out, but gets, she mind controls some hand ninjas to attack him. So he fully embraces both his human side and parts of his spider abilities, where he's finally grown into his powers, which is a little bit more enhanced. He gets inside and tries to stop Jean from murdering the head of the DC. And she gets inside Peter's mind, where she sees Aunt May giving past memory Peter words of wisdom that she pretty much kind of took to heart. And that's where Punisher on a rooftop takes a sniper, tries to take out Jean, but thanks to his hand's powers, he steps in front of it and gets, a bullet in the back. So thanks to Jean's, powers, she kept him in a stable condition until Frank managed to get him to the hospital, homaging the Civil War scene in the comics where Punisher's having Spider-Man in his arms. So the whole city who loves Spider-Man is like having vigils and crowds right outside the hospital. The doctors manage to save him, and Punisher, just to make sure, keeps Spider-Man's identity a secret while he slips out, puts on Spider-Man's mask and waves at the people just to give them something to root for. Apparently the head of damage control managed to slip away. I imagine the next time we see him, he'll be working with probably this universe's Bolivar Trask to try to set up the Sentinels and whatever to try to stop mutants in the future. And matter of fact, those inhibitor things that Peter ended up creating is probably going to evolve into those inhibitor collars that you see often in X-Men continuity. They wrapped around their necks to suppress their powers. I theorize that is obviously going to be what Spider-Man is inadvertently created, is the mutant suppression collars. And I'm pretty sure he's going to feel some type of way when he comes to that realization that tech is based off what he designed. But the movie ends with Peter reintroducing himself to Ned, and when he does that iconic handshake between him and Ned that they always do together, you kind of semi feel like Ned remembers. But that was Spider-Man Brand New Day. It was, despite certain things in the film that I was a little confused on, or did not really care for, by and large, it was still a pretty dang good movie. Still, No Way Home is still the best by far in terms of Spider-Man films. That is the greatest one. But Spider-Man Brand New Day was pretty dang good. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, and I will see you all next time.